Hey, let's do a real quick example on how to use Google Sheets or Excel, and I'm going to use Google Sheets as my example, but they're pretty much the same. I'm going to start off with an equation where this is the AP version, where we would have an initial velocity and initial position being 0. So I'm just going to say that those are 0, and these two equations are effectively the same. This is the AP or higher level version, and this is the sort of lower level basic physics version of the equation. But in either case, if we want to rearrange the equation and solve for acceleration, basically we're going to say that 2 times the distance divided by the time squared is equal to acceleration. So with that in mind, let's move on to Google Sheets. So here's what we have. I've just kind of made up some fake numbers of some sort of example laboratory experiment where we have 10 trials, we have a distance of 5 meters, let's say, and then we have a time elapsed where some object was accelerating and we want to know what the acceleration is. So we're going to use this equation that we had just determined, where 2 times the distance divided by the time squared gives us the acceleration. So first off, let me show you how I did this in terms of determining, like, going 1 through 10 for trials. I could just click on the cell, hit 1, hit enter, hit 2, hit enter, and so on. But by the way, in fact, let me delete those real quick. If I were to hit tab, it brings me over to the right. If I hit enter, it's going to first kind of express that cell, and then hit enter again, it'll bring me below where I started. If I were to start here instead and hit tab and then hit enter, it's going to bring me below that initial cell. Okay, so how do I do a series of numbers 1 through 10? I can hit 1, I can hit 2, and I can do that like that. If you were to go into Excel, just by going into the cell and then go in the lower right hand corner, see how it turns into crosshairs, click and drag. Automatically in Sheets it's going to just fill the series. That's how I did this. And it's just going to copy them. In Excel you get a little drop down menu here where you can click on it and then decide to fill series. It will go 1 through 10 in that case. But Google Sheets is a little bit different. So in this case, I'm going to hit 1, I'm going to hit 2, and then I'm going to go back and highlight them both, lower right hand corner, and Google Sheets recognizes that there's this pattern that develops, and it goes ahead and fills in the series. Right there you can see that there's some advantages to using Sheets, but that's not the full functionality. I want this acceleration here to be this calculation done. And so I'm going to hit the equals bar. Okay? Anytime I want a cell to do something, I'm going to start off by hitting equals, and that is crucial. I want this to equal 2 times, so I'm going to shift 8, gives me times, the distance. Boom, right there. In fact, I can even stop there, right? Let's make this, let's just say that this is 2 times distance. Let me just kind of simplify this a little bit so you can see how this can run. All right, so that's just 2 times the distance, lower right hand corner, click and drag, and it's going to do the same function for the rest of these. At least it should have. So 2 times, yep, and so since the distance is the same every time, then this will be the same every time. Now this is going to be the acceleration. Can't spell it, but whatever. So so this must be 2 times the distance divided by t squared. So this is going to equal 2 times the distance, which is this, divided by t, so I select this cell, t, to the power of 2. Hit enter, and there you go. Click on the cell, lower right hand corner, click and drag. I can even decide I don't want that many decimals, so I can choose, okay, maybe just kind of to the 100th place. What if I want an average? Okay, I want the average of the times, for example. So I'm going to hit equals. I'm going to start typing the word average, and you'll notice that you'll get a few different options here, but I want the average. And by default, it's going to tries to pick up what I want, and in fact, it turns out that is actually what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. If I wanted to change the range, I could change that by selecting up in here or double clicking in this cell and selecting what I want to change it to. So if I just only wanted to go from C3, then I can do that. But I do want it to do C2 to C11. I want it to do all of those. I can also click up here to make these changes. Okay, sometimes it's better to do that so it doesn't get confused as to you selecting cells. I'm going to hit enter because that's what I want actually to happen. And then I want the average of the acceleration. I could hit the equal sign, type in average, and do all that again. Or I can select this cell and click and drag to the right, because if this is an average of everything above, then so is this, and so is this. So there's some general just kind of getting across the general idea of what's happening here, and I hope that you see the usefulness of Google Sheets and Excel. So part of the reason in physics, at least part of the reason why we want to manipulate variables is that then at the end you can recognize what your new equation is, and when you run a laboratory experiment you can go in and just plug your equation into Excel or any sort of other data spreadsheet and then just let it run the numbers. And when you have literally thousands of bits of data, this is what you want to do. So hopefully that is helpful, and let me know if you have questions. Oh, you know what? Let's just say that we wanted to look at a function of time versus acceleration. So I probably want those next to each other here. Yeah, let's do that. So let's just say that this cell here is going to equal that cell, and I want this cell here equal to that cell. So I'm going to put time and acceleration next to each other, and I'm going to click and drag this guy down. I don't really want the averages. Okay, so I can just kind of put this over here and then highlight them and click on the little chart guy, and we can get some sort of see what how these are related to each other. I can change it from an XY scatter to a bar graph. I can do all these different things depending on what is actually sensible for me to do, but XY scatter probably makes most sense in this case. Okay, so with that, also notice that it already labels it for me, puts acceleration labeled and time. Time, of course, should be on the x-axis since it went first, otherwise it could have flipped those around. But hopefully that's helpful, and I'll just leave it at that. So let me know if you guys have questions, and have a good one.